It is now day 4 of a budget stalemate that has forced the partial closure of the government, and more entities stand to shut down the longer it continues. Joining us live on the phone from Washington, D.C. this morning is Bakersfield Congressman and Majority Whip, Republican Kevin McCarthy. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show. We appreciate it. Let's get right into it. House Republicans are insisting President Obama accept changes to the Affordable Care Act he pushed through Congress 3 years ago. And Obama, of course, is refusing to consider any deal linking that law to legislation needed to extend government funding. So where do we go from here? Who's going to budge?
Well, if you watched the very last bill that closed while the timeline was running out, was asking the Senate to go to conference, because the way the House and Senate is created, if one House passes a bill and another House passes a bill and they're different, they go to conference and work out their differences. The challenge right now is Harry Reid will not sit down into conference. So what is transpiring right now is the House is passing bills to fund every portion of the government. Like, we have funded to pay the troops, we have funded to open up the parks, we have funded to fund NIH. Will now go through, and any federal employee that has been furloughed will be paid on the back pay. So we're trying to work through a solution. The difficulty is it's hard to work a solution if somebody else won't get into the room. What
needs to happen for a deal to be reached?
The only thing that has to need to happen is Harry Reid just has to bring some senators into the room and we can work out our differences. That's the way it has always worked. That's the way Congress has been created and designed. If you have a difference of opinion, you get inside a room and work out the differences. This is a much bigger issue about the direction and the spending of this country. We have a $17 trillion debt. $17 trillion. That's more than the entire economy. When you hit that point, the economic growth slips. The president says that he will not negotiate at all, but he'll negotiate with Iran and Putin. But he won't negotiate on the direction of the country when you have a $17 trillion debt. That's not right. People have a right to have a negotiation to make sure our debt doesn't continue to rise.
Now, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history has gone 21 days, 3 weeks. Will this one go longer than that?
I do not believe so. I believe as soon as the Senate can get into the room, we can work out our differences.
Well, let's hope that happens very soon. Now, with all due respect, you and your colleagues are getting paid during this shutdown, but about 800,000 government workers are not. In this economy, many of us can't afford to lose 1 day of pay, let alone 4 days or more than that. So how much consideration are you giving those people?
Correct. That is why you have watched us in the House pass the bills that say that we will fund them. You will watch that we will pass those who are furloughed will be paid. The challenge here is, will the Senate even take it up? Watch what they have done even to an open-air World War II memorial. They take the money and the time to go put barricades around to try to put pain upon the American people. That does not need to happen. The House passed the bill that said we would fund all troops and the civilians working in the military. The White House is now trying to interpret it differently to try to make civilians be furloughed. They're trying to put pain onto the American people where we are not. You first brought up the question about pay. I sent a letter to the clerk to say, no, hold my pay. This is not right. This should not happen. We should get this job done, and we should have a solution. I agree 100%.
Now, Congressman, things have obviously gotten very heated, specifically between Speaker of the House John Boehner and President Obama, with some name-calling going on. You were actually there in the thick of it. Can you bring us there and explain how it's all been going down?
Well, there seems to be at times a little more heated discussion between one another's in a personal basis than has to be. I always look to the place, why can't we have a solution here? It is frustrating that if the president just sits inside the White House and won't negotiate or won't even come into the room, that you can't get something done. You have to, if you have a difference of opinion, talk with the other side. I have been talking to many people on my side of the aisle, the other side of the aisle, inside the Senate itself, ways that we can work this out and move forward while at the same time bringing economic growth to this country.
Congressman, let me ask you something else on a different note. You're obviously in the nation's capital, and there was that deadly shootout yesterday. What went down? Where were you when it happened, and how were you and your colleagues protected?
Well, I was just walking off the House floor going back into the whip's office, which is in the Capitol when it took place. The security comes on and brings everybody, makes everybody, no matter where they are, get into a room, lock the doors. I was in the whip office itself. then, like most people, we turn on the TV and watch what happened. It wasn't on TV yet when we first were warned and got inside. More information is coming forward, but one of the things more personal here, the officer that was injured, when you see in that car wreck there, he used to work on my security detail.
Oh.
And I had called them last night. He's going to be released, but no, very, very scary moments inside the Capitol, and I can't thank the Capitol Police enough for all the work they do.
Absolutely. Scary moments in the Capitol, and so much going on with the government shutdown. Hopefully a compromise will be reached very soon. Congressman Kevin McCarthy, live from our nation's Capitol. We really appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.